Thanks, Micah. I worked really hard on it. Been playing the piano a lot recently. Hey, look what I found. Yeah, Sylvia's been teaching me. Somebody had to. It kind of looks like a fluffy hippo. Well, I would agree with that. Let's see, I added a new command. It's this one. So when we spot a water bear, I can count them. And add a little newt icon when we see a water bear. And also, it's a calming nature documentary. Makes sense. Does a nature documentary have Tardy B? Just asking for a friend. Because we have Tardy B. Cardi B, the Tardy B. Look at his little newt going like crazy. He's like, why can't I find some place to put my feet? This made your day? Well, that's great, Commander Shafard. That was easy. Been streaming for 5 minutes and I already made your day. A special note about this sample, which is that my daughter and her friend across the street, Sylvia and Aspen, collected this sample for me. Hey, little Chook! Look what I brought. Look what I brought this time, little Chook. Boop boop. Also, if you like water bears and art, you should check out this Instagram page that Little Chook runs. Also, Tidy B is back. And she's got a friend. Yeah, he's got his little newt going pretty hard. How do they reproduce? I think that's what Commander Shafard asked me up there. Somebody asked me that, yeah. Most of the time, what they do is most of the time what they do is sort of gross. They molt, and then they lay their eggs in the molt. And oh, thank you, Crawl. And then the male tardigrades will come along and ejaculate into the molt to impregnate the eggs. So that's some species do it that way, which is a little insane. But nature's kind of interesting like that. So, you know. Most of the time they lay eggs, though, and then various ways of being impregnated, usually outside of the body. This one has like a full belly full of food, it looks like. Pretty cool. You won't kink shame? I mean, it's probably good. The Biteman wants to know if these were the size of a dog. Would they pose a threat to humans, or would they be adorable and squishy? I think they'd probably be squishy. I don't know about adorable, but, you know, they're kind of like a sleeping bag. So I imagine if they were larger, they'd just be like a sleeping bag. Yeah, terrifying and squishy, maybe. Maybe a little column A, a little column B. You know? So, yeah, what they did is they said they wanted to try to find me some samples to stream. And so my daughter and her friend ran around the yard and they found some sticks with lichen on them. And then we handed her a knife like a crazy person because she's only 7 and the neighbor kid is 8. And they made this slurry for me that you see here, which is just a little bit of lichen and bark, basically, from the stick that they collected. And then they left it in a bowl that's been sitting here on the desk for the last 3 days, or 2 days. Yeah, a water bear slurry. A water bear stew, sort of now, because I added some water to it. And that was about 10 minutes ago. I added some water to it, and then I put it onto a slide, and I thought, oh, I should probably check to see if there's anything in it before I start streaming looking for water bears. And then I found it. It wasn't very hard. Relatively quickly, actually. And then most of the last 5 minutes, it's just been waiting for my stream counter to count down. Let's see. Misha asks, are water bears everywhere? And my answer to that is no. Hey, Jolkson! Welcome in. Thank you for the raid. You brought your whole party of 2 over. Excellent. I got a Jolkson command now. Don't I? Did I misspell it? I thought my robot had a command for Jolkson. Oh, maybe it's just Jolk. There you go. Helps if I remember the code. And yeah, I've been working on upgrading some of my bot commands. So we've got that. If you want to know how many water bears we've seen, this is open for anybody to type there. You can newt and it'll say how many water bears we've seen. I just started counting today. You know, I added a couple in there as seeds because we definitely have seen some water bears before, but I don't know how many. And I didn't want to go back through all my old streams and check. So, anyway, so you can check that at any time. And then when we see one, I can type newt, or I think any of the mods, or even VIPs maybe can add, I don't know about VIPs, mods, can add extra water bears. And I also added a new thing for when I stream for birds. So I think I'm going to stream tomorrow morning for birds. I added a burb counter. So like burbs. And it will tell you how many burb species I saw that day. So I also added this cool thing, which is like, let's see, white-crowned sparrow. Like that. And it'll take you to this web page for white-crowned sparrow. Look at that. So when I'm doing a bird stream, you can just... I think that anybody can do it, but maybe it's just moderators. You fed it a Canada goose. Oh, that's true. Maybe we should count Little Chook as a burb. We'll burb her in. There we go. We've seen one burb species. And I think the audience can burbs. I think you can burbs. And check how many burps we've seen in a day. There you go. Now you know how many burps we've seen. Fun with bots. That and sticking on the Cardi B. Doot doot. Cobra chickens, yeah. Well, the Canada geese are Canada geese are they're dangerous. They need to be carefully handled, if at all. You knock them over with your thoughts. You're like, and then their goose is cooked. I don't know when this water bear is going to figure out how to grab onto something. It seems to have been trying to grab something for like the last 20 minutes now. Hasn't figured it out. Oh, look at this. Look at this. A nematode's come in. Just like, I'm going to let you finish, water bear. You terrify the geese. You're big and you don't put up with their crap? Well, that's good. It's right next to a scale bar. You see that? You see that there, Misha? That there is an accurate scale bar too, I think. Hang on, let me double check. Yeah, we're at 10x, 3 times. That's the right scale bar. So it's about, I would say, 2.5 times that scale bar. So 0.25 or about 1/4 of a millimeter. Yeah. About 1/4 of a millimeter. That's what it seems like. So I got this water bear in Darkfield for us because I have Darkfield. Why not? And when I take it off of the zoom, now he looks like he's in outer space. He looks like he's out amongst the stars. Very peaceful, floating in the sky. Like that, above the horizon. Doesn't it look like he's in outer space now? I need to make some light adjustments. There. Now he looks there. Now he looks like he's perfectly in outer space, just floating out there above the horizon. Yeah, this one's hasn't figured out how to navigate the glass slide yet. It's still laying on its back and hasn't figured out to turn over to get traction. So, welcome in, Sylvia, by the way. Can I make a dark field on my cheap microscope? I think you can. Maybe Google dark field stop, and I think it will actually show you how to do that. You can sort of make a like a fake dark field, right? Yeah, Jelkson made one. Mine's actually like legit dark field coming from the manufacturer, so yeah. You just need something that will like block the light but allow it to kind of come around it, I think, because it makes oblique lighting. So now we've got a beautiful space water bear in outer space. Slightly above the horizon, a satellite. And the only thing that's wrong with this picture is the scale bar. There you go. Probably would be a little more peaceful if we didn't have a sexy water bear trying to kiss us. There we go. It's that thing that runs the Discovery Spore Drive. It's a water bear. So if you're going to try it at home, Commander Shafard, all you need is a stick. I recommend sticks with lichen that have fallen off a tree. Like they're so old they've just rotted and fallen off of a tree. And then they'll usually have a lot of lichen on them. And I have not failed to find a water bear in that setting. So earlier somebody asked, are water bears everywhere? And I would answer no. They're common, but they're not everywhere. And I say that because before I started looking for water bears and sticks, I was looking at like moss, because people had told me that if you look in moss, you'll find water bears. So I tried all kinds of mosses, like between sidewalk cracks, growing at the bottom of like my garage. There's a whole bunch of like lichen and moss mixed together. Some mosses next to lakes, mosses growing in trees. I just tried everything, and I never found water bears, not even once. And I was like, these things aren't moss piglets. They never are found in mosses. But so I have never found them there. But I guess that doesn't mean they're not there. It just means I can't find them. And I have always had luck with sticks with lichen on them. Especially good luck when I pick the sticks off my roof. So, pond water? I've never found them in pond water. Sylvia, what kind of pond water are you looking in? Because I'd love to find some actual aquatic ones. These ones are all, the subaqueous, living on sticks and lichen, dried out water bears, which have their own charm, but I probably have only seen maybe 3 different species of water bears, or 4 at most, the whole time I've been looking at them. And I can never find them in like a pond. I mean, I got pond water right here. Never find them. Duck ponds full of poop and algae. Maybe I'm just not looking in duckweed. Because it's hard for me to find like a sample from a pond that's filled with duckweed. And maybe that's the problem. I don't know. I guess I could try. I keep looking for stentors too for some reason and never find them either. So it's good to have quests though. It keeps me busy, you know, looking for things. Trying to find new things. All right, let's try taking a little look at it, just using DIC instead of the dark field that we're looking at it now. So I'm gonna crank down the light a little, so hopefully you don't get blinded. Didn't help, still got a little blinded, I bet. And I'm going to turn this back up as my camera's being adjusted. Somewhere in there. I'm going to put the polarizer and analyzer back in. Northern Idaho? Is that where you're collecting them? Special types of duck, maybe. Well, if you want to send me some samples, I'll take them. There we go. There it is with the DIC lighting. And probably can tweak that a little bit for you. There. Maximize the contrast. And then I'll fix the scale bar here. So we are once again looking at it in 3x, which is just my camera zoom. Does it have toes? Yes, they have little claws on the end of their feet. Let's see. I think I could get them? I think I could. Hang on. Probably just the claws, but we'll see. They're kind of kicking a lot, so it's kind of hard to get the right focal height. But you can see they have sets of claws, like a sloth, basically, hooked claws. And we put some in the SEM before, which, of course, if you don't treat them before you put them in, they end up just looking like deflated trash bags. And but the claws and the beak, or the rostrum, the nose, do sort of stick around. And I got some really nice SEM images of it on my lab Instagram page from this scanning electron microscope. So if you want to see the claws up close, I think you can look around on there, or maybe I'll find it real quick for us, because I don't have it hot linked or anything, but there's some pictures of the water bear claws on there from when we were looking at water bears on the SEM. Really, as I mentioned, you have to, okay, so this is their sort of snout. Looks like this. And I colorized it, so don't be fooled. And their claws look something like this. There you go. That's just the claws. So that's, I think they're the back claws. Yeah, that's the back claws. It's sort of drifted a bit. So that's from the scanning electron microscope. We put one on there that it had died, and it was just the, sort of the exoskeleton was all that was left. But it had dried on a glass slide. I found it on the microscope, and we let it dry out completely, and then put the whole slide in the SEM, basically. So, yeah, when you look at them up close, they're pretty amazing, aren't they? Those claws are dangerous looking. So, if you're thinking about the dog-sized, the idea of a dog-sized tardigrade, you probably want to get something to cover their toes, or give them some clipping, because those things are pretty sharp. And they use them for grabbing onto stuff, so it fits into the Doom franchise, maybe a little. They can't really see very well, so that's one thing that's kind of nice about them if you were trying to hide from them. I don't think they'd be able to find you very quickly. And of course, they're like helpless little babies if they're on their backs, as we've seen for the last half hour here. So I just knock them over, I guess, and see what happens. Hard to say. Well, we've been looking at this one water bear for like a half hour. I haven't moved. So I feel like maybe I could look around a little bit and we could come back if we need to. Because maybe there's more. And all we've seen besides this water bear is a little nematode worm that bumped it on its way through. So slippers. Yeah, get it some slippers. That would be great. Okay, we're gonna browse around a little, so I'm gonna put us into browse mode here. I'll make some adjustments to the light because it was like over brightened, and fix the scale bar like a good streamer, so everything's back to normal. And I'll just mark in my mind where we are on the slide, and then we can go explore freely and see what we can find. Everything when I started this stream and also before the stream was completely dried out, so there was nothing moving. It was like a box of cereal flakes in that bowl over there at the beginning, and I added some water to it. I used RoPure water, reverse osmosis purified water, so that it's not chlorinated. It looks like a rotifer husk in there, or a body. Maybe it's not come back yet. Nope, there's a nematode. Also, like water bears, the nematodes are very rugged, hardy organisms that can handle a lot of dissolving or not dissolving, but drying out and rehydrating, basically, and can often come right back from it. I think one stream a long time ago actually had a water bear and a nematode that were in a death match. The water bear looked like it was eating the nematode, like it had it in its mouth. There's another one. It's a little bit smaller, maybe would look okay zoomed in. Have I ever looked at a nematode in the SEM? Actually, I don't think we have. They're big enough I could probably pick one out and stick it on the SEM. That would be kind of interesting. I'm probably going to stream from the SEM tomorrow as well, but probably diatoms again. I don't know. It depends on if I have someone with me. I think maybe my student, Laura, will be there, and we'll probably look at diatoms from June Lake again. But there's just a set of organisms that, for Melissa, there's just a set of organisms like nematodes and rotifers and water bears and some amoeba and some of the ciliates that can just handle desiccation. Like they're just designed to be that way. And part of the reason that they can do that is because they have like the ability to repair themselves. Their DNA is very capable of repairing their bodies. And so being dehydrated doesn't kill them like you think it might. For organisms, you think, oh, it lives in water. We're used to thinking of aquatic organisms as being always living in water, but there's a little, oh, sorry, can't see it. Now you can. Right there's a little ciliate that was also completely dried out. So it's another example of something that can totally handle being dried. Whiskery ant, hello. How are you doing? But there's some animals and of course some plants as well that are just capable of being dried out. It just doesn't bother them. And they just come back fully alive. From you add a little bit of water and it's like Kool-Aid. They just come right back to life, you know. I think that's a rotifer. Either it's an egg or it hasn't rehydrated it completely yet. Sometimes they take a little while to rehydrate. Part of it was moving, so usually you can tell if they're going to come back. They're going to come back to being animated. You could see their internal organs moving a little bit. That's how I usually tell. So the sample's not like, crazy rich with organisms, but that's sort of to be expected because it came from a dried out stick, basically, with lichen on it. And I don't imagine that the density of organisms is very high in that environment because whenever they hydrate, they basically, or rehydrate, they need to probably hurry around and get food so they don't completely starve themselves out. I always talk about this microscope behavior, but when I actually look at microscopes for diatoms, I never go up and down. I would never pan up and down looking for things. I pan left to right. And when I'm streaming, I always pan up and down for some reason. I think it's just like, I don't know. Scanning behavior is a little bit different. Because it's easier to track where you are on the slide when you go up and down, because the slide's shorter in the vertical direction. So a little more challenging for me to figure out where I am if I go left or right, and then I find something, I won't be able to get back to it easily. So I haven't seen much kicking in this sample though. That one water bear. Some nematodes. There's another nematode. Before the stream started, I saw a rotifer as well that was sort of coming back on the other side of the sample. There's a dead nematode, or maybe just inanimate. Here's another one. Hey, jiggly enough. I have a piece of amber with insects in it, and I'm going to try my microscope and see. Oh, that's a great idea, Commander. When I first started on Twitch, there was somebody who was really into amber that used to hang out in a Tiny Worlds stream, and they had a bunch of questions about amber for me, and then I haven't seen much of them, so... But they were sort of an amber expert. I don't know if they did any streaming on amber or not, but that sounds like a really cool thing to look at. Amber's actually one of my wife's favorite things. So there's a little bit of moss in here. It's pretty cool. So that's a bryophyte of some type, I think. And then there's a nematode, of course. Sometimes the mosses and lichens are mixed together. And my cat is here, wondering what I'm looking at. As usual, she tries to get in and get on the microscope at least once. Oh, there's a rotifer. It's got its feeding apparatus out, actually. It's a little deltoid rotifer. We can zoom in on it. Yeah, hang on. I'll get the cat as soon as I got this rotifer on here. There you go. You can see they pull their whole head back inside. And then that's their little things they're spinning that look like propellers are actually little cilia. And that's how they feed. You can see the particles being pulled towards their face. And then their eating apparatus is like inside their body. It's the thing that's pulsing. That's not their heart. That's their mastax. And then the little things that are up at the top that are spinning up here, those are called corona. And they can put them inside their body or pull them out to feed. And they also have usually a little antenna structure, like a little thing that comes off the top of their head that they use when they pull their corona inside to help them sense things in the environment. I don't know where my cat went, actually. Hang on, I'll go get her. My cat's name is Wednesday. See if I can find her. I don't know where she went. Is it plugged in? Yeah. You need it from here.
I was really confused at first when I saw the caps. Because they played the Bruins, and I remember they played the last game of the season. They won with 3 seconds left in the game.
Oh, nice.
2-1.
Didn't find the cat. I did find my wife, though. She needed her flash drive. She'll be back. There you can see the antenna.
Good news, everyone.
It's this part right here. That's the antenna. And this here is the corona, and that's the mastax right there. That's how they eat. So the food kind of comes pulled into this opening between the corona, and there's a little tube which is basically where the food goes, and then it gets chomped on in there, in that thing that's crunching it. Yeah, they only have one antenna, Jiggly. And thanks for the follow, Verge. Yeah, they're like street sweepers or vacuum cleaners, and if you sort of position things correctly, you can really see the particles being pulled towards their mouth, right? They create little gyres, and You can see all the little particles being pulled towards their mouth. This one's being sitting very still, so you can actually see its foot. That's the part that it's attached with down here. And it has two little toes that it's using to hold on to the glass with. They're right there. It's probably actually 3 toes. There's probably a third one on the back side that you can't see. So you get a really good look at their body. This is a deltoid rotifer. There's the antenna. And deltoid rotifers, oh, it just decided it had enough in this spot, are unisexual. So it's only female. There's no males in their population ever. And they don't have sex at all. They just lay eggs, basically, and replicate that way. Hope it's going to run off now. Jazz hands always. I was hoping... Was that another one in there? No. I was hoping it would sit still long enough I could switch to dark field and we could take a look at it in dark field. Do they have predators? Sure. Anything like a fish or a snail or anything that it could fit into the thing's mouth, they'll eat them. They're a little bit smaller than aquatic insects, so maybe the smallest fish could eat them, for example. But they're an important part of the food web because they eat microscopic algae, and then things eat them, basically. So they have a lot of things that probably rely on them for food at the next scale up, basically. So, and earlier Julkson was streaming. He had a whole bunch of these on one slide. So if you are interested in microscope streamers, and I haven't used this little squad command yet tonight, so we'll do that. There you go. There's a whole bunch of them now. And let's see if I can get it to a dark field before this lady gets feisty and goes somewhere else. Let's see. This dark field. And I need to open up some settings to make it brighter because it's too dark. And it looks like our rotifer moved a little bit, but it's still around. There we go. I'm going to make it a little bit brighter here in a second, so just hang on. I need to let my camera adjust to the light, and then we can zoom back in. You can see it's sort of searching around with its antenna, and then just making decisions about where food might be, I think. Yeah, I think it's decided it's going to attach to this. There we go. I kind of see it a little bit. If it's unisexual, how do we know it's female? It lays eggs, Mish. There's not very male organisms that can lay eggs. So we just assume it's female. But they all lay eggs, every one of them. So there's no sex. They just lay the eggs, and that's how they replicate, basically. So I guess you could pretend that it's the male. They're all male, if that makes you feel better. But I think they're all female. Also, I think they've looked back at their gene to see when the last time they evolved in any way, like, because you can't evolve if you're cloning yourself. And I think that they determined that it's been about 65 million years since they've had sex. So they've been unisexual as a species, or even everything in this bedelloid family, I think it is. None of them have had sex for at least 10 million, and for some of them I think it's more like 65 million years. So there's been no genetic variability over that time frame. So pretty cool. It's probably a good thing we switched to dark field, because this would just look like a blob with some lichen in the way most of the time on the other field of the other tool. But in dark field you can kind of see around things a little bit, which is nice, and it lets us see it, because DIC is just straight transmitted light, and dark field is sort of oblique lighting, so it lets us kind of like move around, see around things a little bit better. I mean, have to focus through them basically, but if it gets on the back side of that, we won't be able to see it, if it stays there anyway. But here next to the side of it, it's a little bit clearer than it would be probably in DIC. Yeah, the depth of field, I really have to, if you're wondering like what the magnification we're running at is, this is 10x. And then my camera's multiplying the magnification to make it larger, because the reason I'm doing it that way instead of just raising it up to 20x objective or the 40x objective, one, there's a little bit more space. I don't have a cover slip on. And two, so I'll show you what's going on here on the stage. That's a little bright, but you can kind of see there's just the sample on a slide, just like using it as if it's a petri dish basically. But the reason that I'm doing it that way is because the depth of field shrinks when you raise the magnification. So when the magnification is 40x, for example, the depth of field is very narrow, and also the working distance between your sample and the objective is very small. And the advantage of putting it on 10x and then magnifying it with my camera is that I can keep the depth of field, and I'm just making it bigger with the camera. So, you know, it's just sort of blowing the image up, which usually isn't helpful, because for most views that wouldn't be very helpful, because it doesn't improve the quality. But the advantage is that my camera streams in like 4K. So, you know, I can get really high quality images even zoomed in. Even if we zoomed in a lot farther, for example. There's a 5x, and we still have a nice high image quality and relatively large field of view, or field of depth of view. You know, if something's going to sit still long enough for me to zoom in, you'll be able to see in pretty graphic detail what that thing looks like. And the quality usually doesn't degrade when I zoom in. So, or at least not much. So, that's the advantage of doing this combination of my camera plus the lower magnification, instead of going up to 20x. If I was looking at, yeah, exactly. It gives it a lot more of a 3D effect, because there's a greater depth of field. And then, you know, you wouldn't be able to do it with a cheap microscope camera probably, or it wouldn't look as good. And it also probably couldn't keep up with the speed as easily. So my camera's got it's a really high-end camera for video, and so it can stream at really high resolution and keep up with it, which is, like I said, a really nice combination. So I think it looks really good as a result. But she does. She's got the corona out, just pulling stuff towards her face. And then when I switch over to DIC light, usually what I do is I crank down the diaphragm. ISO is 200. There's all the settings. Manual focus because there's no objective. 16 to 9 just so that you don't see the black margins around the outside edge. And I'm at -3 because I think it looks a little bit better if I turn the brightness down when I zoom in. So I've just altered the overexposed parts basically so they're not so bad. And then there's no lens on there, so you know it's just, well, there's a lens adapter for the microscope adapter, but it's not like an actual lens on there that my computer on my camera can control. So, sure. And this camera that's on there is an OMD, Olympus OMD EM1 Mark II. And when I stream for birds, like maybe tomorrow morning when I do that, I have another camera body that I use that's the Mark III. Hey, Encephalosaurus, how are you doing? We were looking at water bears, and now we're looking at a rotifer. Actually, I think probably we should leave this little lady alone and go look for something else. Let's see what else we can find in here. If anything. And I think I'm going to jump back to DIC to crawl around on the sample. So, you always enjoy the behind the... Yeah. So, this details for the camera can be found there, and the details for the microscope, I think it's just microscope. Yeah. And that actually needs to be updated a little bit because I actually have a 5x on here and dark field and some other things. So I'm going to tweak the settings. Watch your eyes because it's going to flash a little bit. And then, there we go. Now we're in dark field. Sorry, this is DIC lighting. And I can go hunting a little bit more, and we can see if we can find any more water bears. I've seen some rotifer and nematodes. And when we started, there was a giant water bear that we were on for like a half hour. So the reason that those are sand grains, the reason that they look like rainbows is because the microscope that I use has a built-in polarizer, and it's always on. So I can pretend I'm open set and turn it here if I wanted to. And make the rainbow pattern shift around. I can't play the keyboards at the same time, but I can play with the polarizer, so let's see. Forgot to do this. There. Jess is here with us, or she was. Should check her out. She's a great, highly informative stream. We got a raid from Ask a Scientist Gaming. Welcome in, raiders. Thank you for the raid. And then, how was your stream? Ask a Scientist Gaming. Were you gaming? Or were you sciencing? Or were you doing both? want to find some sort of science-based games and then maybe play some of those occasionally. I think that would be fun. Also, we had this really great interview thing going on that Del Maximum and Pacific Plankton and I did for the Knowledge Foundation, and we had some plans we were going to keep doing them, but then we never did anything with it. So I think we need to like go back and look at that a little bit. Maybe do some more sort of team up chat streams. Those would be a lot of fun, and maybe have different guests on. That would be kind of cool. Let's see if I can convince them. Oh, Wednesday's back. Hello, Wednesday. You want to see what's on the microscope? Oh my goodness, you do? You want a treat? Oh. Hello. Look in there. Look in there. No? It's not very interesting. Put the water bear on. Oh. All right, she knocked everything out of focus. Oh, what's this? A giant rotifer. Yeah. It's much bigger than the one that we were looking at before. Probably twice as big. It's crawling in among the muck. My cat's pretty curious if it's birds. She's pretty excited about the birds, but doesn't seem to care very much about the microscope. She wants to know what's going on up here, but primarily I think she wants food. So you're testing a run on 526 Mario Kart Electron Microscopy, Scott Stagg. Cool. All right, let's, because it's kind of trapped on this junk here. Let's keep looking. See if we can find something that's not also buried in the lichen, boogery lichen stuff. Also, the sample is slowly drying out, so we probably want to get back to that water bear or a water bear. Before it completely dries out. Nematode. I'm not sure. This is something here that was living, and it looks like maybe it's a little dehydrated water bear. When they're in their ton state, they kind of look just like this, like a little rolled up ball. And sometimes as they start to rehydrate, you'll see like a claw or a leg start to stick out. So that could be one. Not sure. It's a little too static for me to tell for sure. But that's kind of the way they look, and sometimes I'll just leave my camera sitting on them and they'll unroll themselves, basically. That's a rotifer down there. It's a nematode worm. Looks kind of crooked. Jiggly, how long does their rehydration process take? So, like 2 minutes before I started my stream, which actually takes it has like a little 5-minute warm-up thing that I do to make sure people can find it before I get too far into it. I put some water into that lichen pile that's over there. And then within a minute or two, I was starting to see some rotifers moving around. And by the time the stream started, I'd already found a water bear that was moving. So less than 5 minutes usually. And the ones that I've found. If you look online and you read a little bit about them, they usually say you should wait a half hour or something like that. But I have never found that they actually take a half hour. It's a little culpata that was swimming through the screen right there. That's a type of ciliate. But sometimes they don't respond right away. Oops, there's something in that pile of stuff. I'm not sure what it is. Ah, it's a rotifer. See, it poked its little head out right there. I saw it moving in the... was kind of making everything move. It's a nematode. It's just vibing, you know. Leave it alone, Dad. It's doing its thing. It's definitely having a dance party. Hey, I just noticed I have my Stegosaur shirt on. Yeah, and the other day I got Stegosaurus emotes from paleontologizing. Double dinosaur right there. Here's another nematode. This one looks like it's grazing or something right there. It's a lot bigger than that little guy. I got this shirt at Dinosaur National Monument, where stegosaurs were found. Oh. This is a testate amoeba. Not sure if it's still alive, but that's the way they look. That song had a pretty crazy ending. That blue thing right there, that's probably plastic. Just some plastic fiber. I'm not sure how it got there, but it didn't come from the water. So, probably fell out of the sky, would be my guess. It's unlikely to have come from the knife or the stick. So, I sometimes find little blue and red pieces of plastic in these lichen samples, and it's not really a source for it. I suppose it could have come off of somebody's clothing, but it seems pretty unlikely. All right, we didn't find any more. But I'm going to zoom all the way over to the other side of the slide where we were when we were looking at that other water bear and see if it's still hanging out in that spot. It's kind of over here somewhere. Now it's a game of hide and seek. Maybe it's still stuck on its back. A lot of times what happens is the sample starts to dry out a little bit. There's not so much water, and they can actually kind of crawl around a little faster. And that might have happened with our little water bear. That's a rotifer. Something's moving this pretty well. I think it's a rotifer. A bigger one. It's got the whole pile moving around. It's a nematode. Another nematode. So probably after we left, there's some stuff that rehydrated on this side of the slide as well. So might run into some things we didn't see before. And also that water bear might have gone behind something. So always a possibility. Oh, there's a big old rotifer. Very large. Oh, and it's got an egg. You see that? That's pretty cool. The dark spot in its abdomen is actually an egg. Hey, Miss Daisy. How's it going? Let's see if we can take a look at it. There she is. You can see that sort of darker brown circle right there in her abdomen. Pretty sure that's an egg, right? It's right in here. Of course, she moved the moment I did that. You can see the sort of outline of it. Right there. She's really active, but this thing right here, that's an egg. I think she's preggers. Yeah, this is a big one. She's well fed and ready to make a clone of herself. Yeah, the eggs are really large. They're like a third or half the body size of some of the rotifers. The smaller ones, it's an even larger fraction. Jolkson was looking at some earlier as well, and they had a bunch of them that were pregnant on his stream that he saw. He had like a whole slide full of rotifers that he was streaming. That was pretty cool. This one's just so big. Just throwing everything on the slide around. Yeah, it's always like that, Misha, don't worry. I've got more batteries. Actually, I bought some new batteries relatively recently, so I've got like 4 sets or something. Yeah. Well, when you only got 1 foot with 3 toes, you inch around, I guess. That's what you do. But they do have eyes. Sometimes you can see them. They're usually these little red spots on there. They're not right at the top of their heads, but kind of near the antenna, which is that little piece that's sticking up. Of course, she's gonna go hide in the pile of debris. Happy Mother's Day, Rotifer. You know? They're all moms. You may have fallen asleep during Pacific Plankton stream. Did my terrible drawing make sense as any kind of a worm larva? You know, I looked at it, and I couldn't tell. It does look a little bit like a mosquito larva to me. I think you're right. And you wouldn't be able to see the siphon probably for those because it's really small. So, I mean, that's the likeliest thing in my mind. Most of the other fly larvas, they have really kind of crazy, like, things coming off their heads, or they've got, like, gills, all kinds of other processes that you would be able to see. But the mosquitoes, mostly it's like just around their heads, and then they have a siphon. So I would have gone with mosquito larva probably. Yeah, could be. Could be. So, get a really good look at that egg right there. I wish she'd put out her corona, because I bet it would be spectacular, as big as she is. She's busy snorkeling around in whatever's here. Yeah, it'll be okay, Miss Daisy. I've got more batteries. The feeding apparatus that they have at the top of their head, it's like little street cleaning brushes that come out. We saw it earlier on the stream with a different rotifer. You'll watch they'll sort of, they've got them tucked in. She's got it tucked inside her head right now, so she's not actually actively eating. When they start to filter the water, they pull them out, and they look amazing. They're like little vacuum cleaner brushes, basically, that whirl around. And they can actually use them for movement as well. If they need to move quickly, they will sometimes pull them out, start spinning them, and then let go with their feet, and they'll just take off like a jet. They'll totally zoom around like that, to quickly move from one place to another. So usually when they're going to feed, they brace themselves, and then they aren't crawling around in the muck like this. I don't know what she's doing. Maybe she's trying to make a nest. Who knows? I can try to find one. She might not be too interested in actually eating. So she seems to be like playing around with the sediment quite a bit. I don't know what that's about. So let me see if I can. I'll search around and see if I can find another rotifer, but we're right at the end of this side of this edge of the slide, so it'll probably be pretty easy to find her again. Let's see, I'm gonna snap it out. Sometimes I actually remember to make it so you don't get dizzy when I move. Oh, that's interesting. That's our water bear right there. There's another rotifer. This is the water bear that we'd found. But maybe it molted. We saw that on the last stream, actually. We saw the water bear molt. It's not moving. So it could just be the molt. But we saw one come out of the molt last time I was looking for water bears. So I'll have to look around and see it's somewhere else around here. This one's got its corona out. You see them? You will in a second. There you go. See, they're like little street cleaning brushes or vacuum cleaner brushes. And they look pretty cool. That's how you can see how they're like rearranging the everything gets pulled towards their mouth when they spin them. So they rearrange the water around them, basically. Let's see if I can figure out what this one's doing. Oh, it's also got an egg, I think. It's also a mama. Yep. I don't think it's the same one. I think that's a different one. But it might have come over where we were. But that one also has an egg right there. See it? There they have the corona is not out. That's the way their mouth normally looks. They kind of snorkel around like that. And then the appendage on the top of its head, it's like a little leg or something sticking out up there, is actually called the antenna. It's this thing. And it's like how they sense the water. So it's that little like leg-looking thing on the top of its head is the antenna. Its mouth is right there, obviously. This one's also kind of rooting around in the sediment a bit. Could be the same one. Yeah, they can. I don't think that it matters to them, like when they dehydrate and rehydrate. I don't think that bothers them. It's just the way they live. So sometimes, I don't know if rotifers do this, but the water bears do. When they molt, they'll lay their eggs in the molt. I don't think that rotifers follow that behavior, but yeah. Let's see if we can find another one or figure out what's going on with this water bear here, because it's still not moving. And it's possible that that's just the molt, which means the water bear is out here getting bigger somewhere. So that thing's not moving at all, and that is definitely the husk of a water bear. And it seemed like it was fine when we were looking at it earlier. It did not look like it was about to die or anything. Oh, that's interesting. Miss Daisy, are you still here? That's a butterfly scale right there. That's a butterfly scale. You see the structure? It's exactly like the ones that we saw on the SEM. And this stuff, for people out there, for some reason want to know, can you see bacteria? That's bacteria. Those little balls are bacteria. This is a butterfly scale. This is how it attaches. And then this is the actual like scale of the butterfly. You can see the structure even a little bit here. Probably if I had it on the higher objective, you could see it a little bit better. But I'm worried if I switch it, it'll hit the objective. So we probably could see that a little bit better if I was looking at it at 100x or 20x or something like that. But that's pretty cool. I wonder what it would look like if I looked at it in dark field. Give me a second. Watch your eyes. Flip it over. And see what it looks like in dark field. Take the polarizer out. It's very shimmery. I don't know if that's its true color, but it's more or less just the microscope's light being interfered with. Yeah, it does look pretty. Kind of crazy zoomed in on it, that's why. So that scale bar is not set, right? Hang on. It's not that one or that one, it's this one. So if you're wondering how big is a butterfly scale, they're about 1/10 of a micron, or 1/10 of a millimeter. There you go. So about 100 microns. Yeah, and this little bacteria are like twinkling stars. Pretty cool. Let's see if we can find that water bear moving around in here somewhere. I can leave it in dark field, that's fine. That's also, while we're here, this thing. Those are, that's a feather, a bird feather right there. That's a single, like if you looked at a typical feather, that's like a single little plume, a feather piece, a barbel, or whatever they're called. Yep. And I only know that from looking at it in the scanning electron microscope, actually. Otherwise, I'd never know what that was. But that's actually, you know, like if you took a feather and you pulled off the smallest piece of it, and broke it off and pulled it out, that's what it would look like. And we see those little barb things in my SEM images when we look at feathers. Let's zoom out and hang on, if I didn't close my Instagram page, I might have. Yeah, it looks pretty weird. But let's see. You can probably see one of these on my Instagram page. If I just, I'm gonna go grab a picture of a feather somewhere. I have one. Also, this is a butterfly scale. That's a butterfly scale that was caught on an antenna of a bug. It was super small. So let's see. I need to keep looking. Sorry. These ones you can't see the barb structure very well. Well, yeah, they don't all have that really clear structure, but we did look at some bird feathers before, and they looked exactly like that, so that's how I know. If you're wondering, hey, how does he know this stuff? I don't study bird feathers, so I study diatoms, but if it's in, there's a rotifer. If it's in the size range that I look at things, I'm likely to know what it is just because I'm curious about it, and I'll go looking at it in the SEM. So, and once you've seen it in the SEM, it kind of makes it easier for you to figure out what you're looking at. You can see there's a bunch of little feathers in here, actually. It's another one. Okay, let's keep looking. This is all dried out. There's a rotifer that's not moving. Just kind of hanging out. That's its mastax that's moving in the middle of its body right there. That's how I know it's a rotifer. So this little part right there, that's like its eating apparatus. The rest of it just looks like a little bag right now because it's not expanded. Oh, is there a tardigrade up there? Top left. I don't think so. I'll look around. Might have just looked like it. I don't know. This is where we were. I'm not seeing anything. Some things just kind of have that shape. There's a rotifer up here. He probably maybe tricked you. Maybe. Not seeing any water bears. Oh, wait. Was this the one that you were thinking of? That is a water bear. I think that's the one we were looking at before. Yeah. That is a water bear. It might be the one we had before. It's not moving. Like at all. Could be sleeping. It could have molted. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought maybe it's just the molt. Well, it's not moving at all though, and usually when they are sleeping or they're sort of slowly moving, their little claws will move. Like, you know, they do this kind of thing, like your dog does when it's sleeping. Yeah, and it looks a little empty. But you can't see the claw endings right here on their feet. When you're asking about the claws, there's a little claw right there, and there's another one right there. See the claws? There's actually a little like set of 4. It's being bumped by something. I'm actually not seeing what's bumping it either. Anyway, that's same area we were looking at before. What? Oh, you want to use my computer? Okay. It's fine. Just gonna look around a little bit more. All right. My wife is requesting to use the computer, so let's see if we can find it a little bit. We'll look around just a little bit more and see if I can find that water bear. I put it on the lowest magnification. See if that allows us to quickly look through this part of the sample and see what we can find. If we don't see it, I'll just call it a day. It'd have to be at least as big as the molt we just saw, so. Like I said, once the sample starts to dry out a little bit, they can kind of move a lot because they can get a little bit more traction. So it's possible that it molted back there and then it's wandered off. It's a bunch of rotifers. Oh, here's a water bear. Perfect. We'll end with this. I don't think that's the same one. Or maybe this is the same one and the other one wasn't. Now it's moving pretty good. There you go. Oh, you can see it's got a little eye, or an eye spot. Perfect. I don't know. I think maybe it's a different water bear. So I'm just going to count it as a different water bear. There we go. Newt. Now we've got up to 4. And we'll give this water bear a little tardy bee. Here you go, tardy bee. Sexy water bear that little Chook drew for us. And that'll probably be a good... Oh, you can see the eye spot for a second there. So if this is the one that we saw earlier, we still saw another one. I'm going to count that molt, because this is a different water bear than that one was. It's clearly a lot smaller than that molt was. So, perfect. That cannot be unseen. It cannot. You're welcome. And you can thank Little Chook. If you don't know who Little Chook is, she's the artist who drew that. Here you go. Incredible artist and a friend of the stream as well. We call it Tardy B, like Cardi B, but Tardy Bear. It's juicy, yeah. There we go. We like to pull her out whenever we find a tardigrade to inspire them. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes it makes them more active, or seems to anyway. All right, this has been a fun stream. My wife is demanding to use the computer. She's got to do actual work instead of me just screwing around. So we'll stop here. I will find somebody for us to raid. And we saw 2 water bears, so not bad. And a bunch of rotifers. And nematodes, so the regulars. And then a butterfly scale, which is amazing. And let's see. We could raid... let's raid Cold Ham. How's that sound? He's a friend of Miss Daisy's. She's probably split streaming. Anyway. And then she'll only have to be in one channel, maybe, at the same time. Yeah, we'll go raid Cold Ham. He's playing Faster Than Light, which is a fun game. I think I played that game before, a long time ago. And I don't think we've raided him yet, so this will be fun. So if you want to hang out, check out Cold Ham's stream. The little raid icons I have, if you're a subscriber, they're there. And if you're not and you have BTTV, you can get this access to those same little icons. And then you can just spam them when we go. All right. Hey, we made it through the whole stream without having to change my battery too. So there's that. So perfect. Thanks everybody for hanging out. And this was a fun little stream. We got rated by Ask a Scientist Gaming, and Jolkson. And some new follows as well. I think 4 or 5 new follows. And I'll be on tomorrow from the SEM, and maybe I'll be doing a bird stream in the morning. So we'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.